Space, the final frontier. Man has been traveling here since the 60s. All of them brave voyagers, highly trained astronauts, not everyday people until now. Our mission, to take ordinary members of the public, put them through a rigorous training regime on an isolated Russian military base, and then blast them off into space. Or so they'll think. Unbeknownst to them, they'll never actually leave UK soil. The scene is set. The countdown to launch has begun. Will the contestants even want to go into space? And if they do, will they fall for the biggest practical joke in television history? We're about to find out in Space Cadets. Hello and welcome to Space Cadets. It's Space Gym, but not as you know it. So what are we trying to achieve here? We have a two-part mission statement. Part one, we must convince a group of people that a large field a stone's throw from Ipswich is in fact a Russian space training facility. Part two, we must convince this same group of people we're going to put in a shuttle, blast them into space for 5 days, where they'll make history as Britain's first televised space tourists, when in fact they will be in this high-tech shuttle simulator based on genuine NASA blueprints in this aircraft hangar here in that same field near Ipswich. Now, if they last the full 5-day mission without rumbling us, they'll each walk away with a bundle of cash. This is the most elaborate and expensive hoax in British TV history. So what could possibly go wrong? Well, to be frank with you, pretty much everything. But don't panic. If the whole ruse is rumbled, there is a plan 2 in place which cannot fail. 10 episodes of Jamie Oliver's school dinners. He came to the rescue of our children's health, and he's on 24-hour standby for us. So, as you can imagine, it's been vital that every detail has been covered, and in tonight's show, you'll be getting a behind-the-scenes look at the extraordinary time and effort that has gone into making sure this cosmic adventure succeeds. The whole project began back in April and was labelled top secret. If any information about the programme got out, then the ruse would have been ruined and the whole thing cancelled. So everyone working on the show signed up without knowing what it was about. Fake shows were invented to throw the press off the scent. Contestants applied to shows that didn't even exist, and actors auditioned for roles without knowing what parts they were playing. So back to task 1. Establishing a believable Russian space facility right here near Ipswich. Star City, the Russian base that has trained every cosmonaut to blast into space. We had to replicate this facility to stand any chance of convincing our cadets they were at a real space camp. It was a tough task, but in the heart of the English countryside, we found just what we needed: a decommissioned military base from the Cold War. As you can see, there were similarities, but the producers believed their site looked better than the Russians. Job done. The site was packed with all sorts of interesting buildings, but it needed to be transformed from a derelict airbase into a convincing launch site for a space shuttle. There were 4 major areas that needed a complete revamp. This rundown building needed to become the barracks, where our space cadets would eat, sleep, and spend their spare time. The cadets would receive their training in the missile-proof building that used to be the base headquarters. The interior needed to transform into a Russian lecture room where our cadets could learn how to become space tourists. Mission Control, the nerve centre of the operation. This is the real deal. At the height of the Cold War, a nuclear strike could have been launched from here in 5 minutes. The cadets will see this area only once, when it will be filled with actors dressed as flight engineers and mission specialists, who they believe are controlling their mission. Finally, this old aircraft hangar, previously used to test fighter planes, would need to become, well, space. It's in here our shuttle will be assembled. Our cadets will enter it through the tunnel once used to muffle the noise from the jet engines. This area needed the most work, as it's in here our cadets will need to totally believe they're boarding a shuttle to blast into space for a 5-day mission. 3 square miles of an old military base in the English countryside to turn into a Russian space camp. Tricky, or as the Russians say, tricksky.